I'm Huon Hook, and this is The Real Review. The wine we're tasting today is Pooley 2019 Margaret Pooley Tribute Riesling from the Coal River Valley, Tasmania. The Pooley family have been growing grapes in Tasmania since 1985, and they're now Pooley, the vineyard and the winery, are now in the hands of the third generation. Matt Pooley is in charge of the vineyards, and his sister Anna is the winemaker, together with Anna's husband, Justin Bubb, who is also a trained winemaker. But turning back the clock a little bit further, they claim to be the first third generation family winemaking business in Tasmania, the first and only third generation wine family in Tasmania. So that's quite an achievement. Matt and Anna's grandmother was Margaret Pooley, and she and her husband established the first vineyard in 1985 called Cooinda Vale, and it's still one of the labels that they use today. Margaret Pooley was quite a dynamo. She was a matriarch of considerable presence and stature, and they were, everybody looked up to Margaret, and she was still working in the vineyard well into her 90s. She's no longer with us now, but her grandchildren are continuing the Pooley family story, and it's getting from better and better, from strength to strength. They're planting more vineyards. They're doing all sorts of interesting things. The original vineyard, Cooinda Vale, has recently been joined by a second vineyard called Butcher's Hill. They're both in the Coal River Valley, but they're different localities with different soils and different mesoclimates. So the terroir is different, and they produce slightly different wines. And this is really interesting because they do a Chardonnay and a Pinot Noir from both of those vineyards. And you can buy the Cooinda Vale and the Butcher's Hill of the Pinot and the Chardonnay, if you like, and compare them. And it's really quite a fun and interesting thing to do. So what does this wine, this Margaret Pooley Tribute Riesling, taste like? It's not a cheap wine, so we're expecting something special here. It's $75. Very light colour, and that's pretty typical of Tasmanian Riesling. It is slow to develop, it's slow to age, it doesn't darken in colour very quickly. This is nearly 2 years old now, and it's still very fresh and very youthful. And you can smell that on the nose. It's not toasty at all, it's still fresh and vibrant and primary. It's got some yeasty overtones, it's floral, it's got some talcum powder hints to it. Beautifully fresh and vibrant on the nose. A haunting fragrance, really, you can sit and sniff that for quite a while. And on the palate, it is very, very delicate and tight and refined, and it's all very compact, and the wine is sort of long and narrow in the palate. It's the opposite of, say, a Chardonnay, which would be broad and rich and more full-bodied. This wine is not just the top price Pooley wine and the top, what they think is their top quality of all their three Rieslings, but it's the wine I think they've selected to put under this label is the longest aging wine that they make. So this is designed to be a long aging wine. That's why it's so tight, delicate, refined, restrained, and probably will be at its best with a few more years of age, but it's terrific now. I think because of its crispness, its acidity, it would be much better to have it with food now than without. But in a few years' time, as it ages and becomes more complex and softer, it will go really well with different foods, but also by itself. It's a beautiful wine, and it's quite dry. There's no obvious residual sugar to that wine, and classic Australian aging style of Riesling. So how did we rate this Margaret Pooley Tribute Riesling? We scored it 95 out of 100, which is a gold ribbon score. It was ranked number 4 out of 47 Rieslings from Tasmania in the 2019 vintage, which gives it a top rank rating. It is, we would suggest drinking this wine anytime now till 2034. In other words, it's a wine which will last for at least 15 years, and I have no concern that it wouldn't last for much longer than 15 years if it was well cellared. It's got to be well cellared, but that tight, delicate style will age beautifully. And what would we serve with a wine like this? We did ask the winemakers, Anna Pooley and Justin Bubb, what they would prefer to put with this wine, and they've given us a couple of choices here. You could treat them as the entree followed by the main, or the appetizer followed by the entree. It's the Bruny Island oysters to begin with, which are local to southern Tasmania, and followed by pan-fried trout with beurre blanc sauce. Sounds wonderful to me. I think this wine has the delicacy and the dryness and the tightness and the acidity to go with oysters very, very well. And of course, pretty much any white fish, or pink fish for that matter, like trout, will go really well with that. So, good health.